So here's the real cool thing. I get to sit down with one of my good friends, the Oola Seeker. Let's get into a little bit. When I first called you and I said, okay, here's my topic. My topic is man up. What was your first thought when you heard that?
Well, the interesting thing is right away, because Troy and I mean, Troy's one of your good friends too.
Yeah.
We sit on this bus and we talk about everything from faith to marriage to everything.
Yeah.
And one of the things we talk about a lot is being a man.
Yep.
And the different versions of being a man.
Yeah.
So I'm a little passionate about that because I have 4 daughters,
Yep.
4 sisters. And the funny thing is like my 4 sisters for sure, their husbands are men.
Yeah.
Like they're men and they take good care of them. And I think our definition of that's a little different. Now the crazy part is that sitting with you, you'd probably be the only guy to sit on this couch, which is called the man couch, by the way. This is called the man couch.
Is it really?
I had this couch made, and it's called the man couch because I always wanted a dirty leather couch, like a man couch.
Yeah.
And you would probably be the only guy that would probably make me feel less of a man. But in light of all that, that wasn't our conversation, but in light of all that, no, I think it's such a key thing out there right now. Yeah. And I want to have an open conversation with you because we talked the other day when you called me and you said, hey, I'm working on this project. Yep. And I'm like, cool, this will be interesting to see what this is all about because I told you we get calls every day.
Yep.
Like I want to write a book. How'd you guys do it? So your idea when you talk about, men need to be men. They need to stand up. And you started talking about that. I got super passionate about that topic because of having 4 sisters and 4 daughters and how I want them to be treated. Mm-hmm. So my idea of a man, it may differ from you, but I think at the core it doesn't. Because we talked a little bit about that on the phone is that it's not the look. Right. It's not this dang thing and this crazy, like, right? I love it.
Yeah.
I could never pull it off because I'm a shorter guy, so it'd be hanging out. But it's really at the heart, like the core of what a man is. Yeah. And I think it comes down to like respect and being a leader and being loving and caring. So that part of a man, there's a part of a man where it's like shooting his own food and chopping wood and all that, which is the provider in a man, right? Yep. I mean, when you go back way back, they were providing for their family and they were leading their family by providing food and shelter and warmth. Yeah. And I think today's man, I mean, food, shelter, and warmth is around every corner. You just pay an electrical bill and whatever. So the man up part now is loving and respecting and taking care of and not doing the things that would be unmanly. Right. If you know what I mean. Yeah. So I was super passionate about that just because of 4 sisters and 4 daughters. So it was a great topic, a great conversation that we had on the phone.
Well, and I think that's one of the key things is when I look at raising 3 boys, well, how do I want my boys to show up, in this world? Do I want them to show up on a couch at 30 years old in my basement playing video games with their hats on backwards and that's them? No, I want them to be out crushing it. Yeah. Contributing members to society, finding someone to love strongly. Yeah. Not just and I think that's part of my man up piece is, when you talk about someone loving someone else, I think we're starting to lose that definition of what it really means to love someone strongly.
Yeah. Boldly, hard. Love them.
It's not just this, I'll love you when it's convenient. Yeah. It's, I'll love you, man, even when it's hard. Yeah. And when I'm looking at this, and I'm seeing, do you see with men just in general? When I walk down the street, I like to observe and I like to watch people. Yeah. And some of the things that I hear from men, it almost makes me just kind of cringe. Yeah. How about you?
Well, you know what? I kind of get the other side of that. And what I get is when we do, I was talking to you about this a little bit the other day. First of all, your boys will never end up on the couch at 30 years old because you won't let them. Nope. So I know that. Just like there's no one sleeping on this couch. I have to kind of man up my daughters a little bit. And I think it's that enabling love. Yep. You know what I mean? Like I love my kids. Like I will do anything for my daughters and my son. I have a 15-year-old son. Yeah. But they know that at 18, 19, man, it's time for them to move on and do their thing. We see so many times, I talked to you about, we run these events, Oolapalooza, which about 2-day events. Yeah. So I see the flip side of this a little bit where we talk to a lot of women. Yeah. And the women are sitting there working on their goals in their life, and they're talking so much about their marriages and their relationships. And if you look at, first of all, you look at people in the work environment, 55% of people hate their jobs, but 53% of the marriages end in divorce.
Right.
So if 53% of the marriages are just like, this sucks so bad I have to get out, that doesn't mean 53% are bad. That means it's like 70 or 80% are like not in great relationships.
Yep.
So what I see on the other end so much is it's women saying, my guy dated me, opened the door for me, loved me,
yep.
and we got married. He started putting on 5 pounds every year, and now he watches football, and now he's on the couch playing video games, whatever that is. I hear that a lot.
Yeah.
So, and the last thing I want to do is judge, because I have my own things. I mean, I was married 17 years, went through a divorce. I did stuff that I shouldn't have done as a man, obviously, and was very embarrassed. Like the whole divorcing, felt guilty. You know my whole story. Like, it's hard to go through that and be. I think from that you can lose it or become more of a man. For me, for sure, it made me work really hard at being more of a man for my family. But I feel so much for women who this guy pursued them, and then the ring is on the finger, and then everything just starts to slip and slide. And I feel like that's one of the things I'm passionate about, is how important it is if you get into a relationship and you're acting like a man and you're pursuing and you're getting into a relationship, your relationship will stay good if you continue to act like that and continue to pursue and continue to love. And it goes both ways.
Oh yeah.
But that's one aspect of what you're talking about. Then the other aspect, again, it's the women's thing. And it's actually, we wrote about it in the new book that comes out. But in the women's thing.
By the way, when does that book come
May
out?
2nd.
May 2nd.
May 2nd.
And what is the book?
It's Oola for women. So I don't know if people even know what Oola is, but
so let's go there a little bit.
It's balancing and growing your life. It's become a lifestyle about balancing and growing your life in 7 key areas: your fitness, finance, family, your field, which is your career, faith, friends, and fun. And then looking at these areas, say, what do I want? This is a man thing too, by the way. It's like, where am I? Where do I want to go?
Right.
And how am I going to get there? And it's not passively living life, it's taking action. So it's not words, it's actually taking action on life. So it's not like, man, I'd love to retire someday, or I'd love to provide for my family, I'd love to take my family on a vacation, or I'd love to be the faith leader of my family, or I'd love that. It's not about I love it, it's actually taking action and doing it.
Right.
And then along this journey, you're going to run to what are called Oola blockers: fear, guilt, self-sabotage. Everybody suffers with those to a certain degree. And as a man, as a woman, as a teen, how do you push through that?
Right.
And then you got to embrace the Oola accelerators, which is hard for men to do. And that's embracing gratitude and love, humility, the humble part of being a man.
Yep.
So it's not man like, screaming. Like it can also be a very humbling. Some of the men I know, like when I think of like Dr. Troy, he's the farthest thing from a man from a standpoint of like oil changes and working. His hands haven't had a callus on in his whole life.
Well, he had Carhartts at one point, right?
One time they were brand new warm for a day because he was cold. But he's a man from a standpoint of how he takes care of his wife and his family and how he loves them. So embracing those accelerators. And that's really what Oola is. It's just that lifestyle about balancing, growing, taking action towards your life. But when we're working on this new book and we're interviewing women, so that's that one side of like, I married this man and now he's a boy on the couch. Mm-hmm. And then the other side is, I had a boy, I raised him to be a man, and now he's 30 and he's on the couch. Mm-hmm. And moms take that. It's hard on parents, but it's really what we've found by researching this. It's really hard on women, like moms, because moms have a little more of that natural loving. They gave birth to this child, and it's hard for them to tough love. Yeah. So it's that enabling love. And that's another part where part of me, like, I don't want to be judgmental, but you just want to smack someone a little bit. It's like, get off your mom's couch and quit eating her food. Yeah. You're 30, like, go get a job. And it's just something that wouldn't have happened 20, 30 years ago.
No, because
like,
you would have got smacked.
Your parents would have smacked you. They would have kicked you out.
Yep.
And so there's that part of it too, where it's like, I know people go on tough times. Yeah. And I know, like, for me, I would never be homeless. If something bad happened, I went through a tough time after my divorce. If I needed to live at my parents' place for 6 months, I could have. Yep. But and there's nothing wrong with that. But when you're there 2 years, 3 years, or you've never left, you're just looking at that and say, okay, what do I want for my life, and how am I going to go get this?
Exactly.
And I know we had talked to this guy at a Palooza a long time ago, and his main goal was he wanted to be married. Yeah. He wanted to be married. He was about 30 years old, 20 years old. He just wants to find a great woman, which is awesome. Like, share your life with someone. Yeah. And that was his one thing. And I'm like, well, why haven't you? He goes, I don't know. I've dated. I just haven't found the right one. And this and this and this. Well, in reality, I'm like, tell me about your situation. Well, I live in my mom's basement. And like that, I'm like, okay, dude, like I love you.
Red flag.
I love you, so I'm gonna just embrace you and hug you,
Right.
not judge you. Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, if you ask 100 women who are 30
yeah.
and say you're looking for a guy, and if you say he lives in in his mom's basement and he's struggling with student loans or whatever it is, and he's struggling to find a job, not being rude, 99% of women are done with that. So it's just that part of like the Man Up project that I like so much about you. It's not judging. No. It's not nothing. But what it is saying there's a better way to come at this and just be, a good person, love hard, be humble, be a solid provider for your family. That doesn't mean just money, right. But be a provider from a standpoint of, Dr. Troy, I think, is a great leader of faith in his family. Like he leads his family in faith. His wife is like amazing with that too. And then Troy's brother, Tim, who's another guy that I look up to, is a quiet, humble, loving person that's not going to be out doing crazy things he shouldn't with his wife. He respects her, loves her. Yeah. I look at my 4 brother-in-laws, dude, like I want to be half the man they are. Like I was just with them at a wedding yesterday. I just flew in. And just the way they are to my sisters, like I couldn't ask for anybody better. Like they're so amazing, And so that's another thing too, is like looking at that as like surround yourself with good men. Surround yourself with good men.
That's the thing that, one of my biggest things with this book is the last thing that I want people to think is that I got all the answers.
Yeah.
Or to assume that, hey, because I wrote this book, that this guy thinks he's got all the answers and he's perfect. No. Most of the stuff I write, most of the stuff I talk about, whether it's on Facebook or blog, whatever it looks like, it's stuff that I'm struggling with and trying to work on myself.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think it's the same thing with the Oola stuff.
100%.
It's we're going through life trying to make the best imperfect progress that we can.
Yeah.
And be the best version of who we were designed to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's for me. Now you touched on something that really struck me, and it was somebody a good friend of mine that brought this up, and he talked about it being meekness. A true man displays meekness, and how meekness is not weakness.
Yeah.
But is strength under control.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts when you hear that?
I love that. I think of people, I think of men. My grandpa, on my mom's side, 14 children, struggled, financially, obviously, back in the day. Always happy, always positive, always loving. We were talking about him the other night, how they're both passed on now, but we were talking about him the other night, how all the craziness around 14 kids and all these grandkids and everything, we remember them at the end of like a Sunday dinner, like Sunday you go hang out at his place. Yep. He would play guitar. Do you know who his stepbrother was? Lawrence Welk.
Was he really?
Yeah. So
Tiny bubbles.
Picture that. So picture my grandpa. Yeah. Like no one watching this knows who Lawrence Welk is. Google it. It's a long time ago.
Yep.
But so picture that's my childhood a little bit. Like my grandpa playing guitar on Sundays, having soup, all that stuff. But then what he did is he would help out, and then he would take my grandma, hold her hand, and they'd go walk. You can see him walking down a gravel road. Yeah. And he would just take her away from like the craziness because she just prepared the meal and all that stuff. And I just like that humble meekness. He was so strong. Like he has such strong values and so set. Like this is how I'm going to love my wife. This is how I'm going to take it. His kids would have not been on the couch at 30.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yep. This is how I'm going to love my wife. I'm going to love my kids. I'm going to raise good men. I'm going to raise good daughters. Yeah. And I look at that side of the family, 14 brothers and sisters. My mom's 14 in the family. And all the cousins, there's no fighting. There's no jealousy. There's just loving because he set the tone for that because of the values. And he did it in a very humble, meek way. It was never forceful, never strong, never yelling. I'm sure the boys got spankings back in the day that they deserved way back in the day. Yeah. But he led that so well with that. And I love that. Like meekness is not weakness. I mean, it's that humble confidence that you see. I feel like I've seen both ends of that. I've seen that forceful, like manly love that's forceful and full of anger on one side of my family, not my dad, but my dad's side. And then I've seen this loving, caring meekness and humility on one side. That's so incredible. And the other thing you talked about is just the transparency of your message. And that is so key, because there's the days of like pocket squares and this is what I do, and if you want to be successful, follow me.
Right.
That's over. It's this transparency, and that's why I compliment you so much on this. I'm so excited for your project, is because I know you're coming at it with like a humble heart, like you want to raise good boys, and you want to give people that information, like, and that it's like Oola too, like, here you go. We're not telling you what to do, but here's a way. There could be a better way, and if you look at this and you say, this works, this doesn't work, but boy, I like this, and I can live more humbly or live with more meekness and understand that's not a weak part of me. That's just such an amazing thing. I think it's such an amazing and timely message right now.
Oh, that's awesome, man. So one last question before we cut it off.
That's it?
That's it, man.
So easy, man. Just getting warmed up.
I wasn't going to get you to really hard on this one, but this last question may take a little while.
Okay.
So one of my things, you guys know Varick.
Yeah, very well.
Yeah, great guy.
Love Varick.
One of those guys that challenges you to be better.
Yep.
And just being around him makes you want to be a little bit better.
Yep.
And I respect him for that. He's a huge, very strong leader in his faith and other areas of his life as well. And one of the things that I've been getting into lately and seeing more need for is that accountability piece. Mm-hmm. And so as guys, let's say there's a guy watching this that says, yeah, that's something I need to man up. That accountability piece, I know, and I don't even have to ask you because I know what you're going to say on it. It's huge.
Huge.
Talk a little bit about the importance of the accountability and what that, for whatever reason, men get around men and they think, oh, if I'm going to be vulnerable and share something with another guy, I'm kind of I'm a freak.
Yeah.
But how important is that? That actual piece of me sitting with you and saying, Dave, man, here's where I struggle.
Yeah. I think if you want to look at, like you're talking about the man project, I think that's one area where that has improved so much. I think if you go back again 30 years, I might be speaking for relatives, I don't know, but I don't think they would have that accountability piece. They would have that vulnerability or the openness as a man. I think they held that in. Yeah. And I think now that's totally cool. Yeah. Like I know I could call you at any time and say, I'm struggling with this. Yep. And you would listen to me and you could do the same. And Varick is that guy. Varick is the Tim, Troy's brother, those type of people that they lead with such quiet confidence that they're kind of like they're just good dudes, And the accountability is just such a huge factor. So there's like a couple things that I look at when it comes to accountability, and it's a big part of what we talk about in Oola, is when you set your plan in motion, like this is what I want for my family, this is what I want for my fitness, this is what I want for my career, whatever it is, you set that in motion. One of the key things that we built it in the program is accountability. Yep. You have to tell others about it, and you have to have accountability partners. So accountability partners are the ones that are going to tough love you and say like, you said you're going to lose 15 pounds. You said you're going to take your wife on a date. You said you're going to save an emergency fund. How's that coming? Yeah. And check in with them every 2 weeks. That's what we do in Oola. We check in. Now, the other thing that we do to the next level, which is a very manly thing, is we put like rewards on it. Yeah. So it's like a headhunter thing. Yeah. It's like, I'm going to lose 20 pounds. And it's like, okay, so how much are you going to pay me if you don't lose 20 pounds? Yeah. And you have a buddy like that. And then don't commit $5 because anybody's gonna just, here's $5. Commit something that like it's gonna hurt, like it's gonna suck, right? If you have to pay it. And then all of a sudden it comes out like, dude, I want that $5,000 so bad. And you're like, I'm not giving anybody $5,000. Like $5,000 is a lot of money, right? Yeah. So that's a great way. Yeah. Not just men, I do it with my sister. Yeah. I did it with my sister too, who was just talking about doing something. I'm like, okay, what's your goal for this? Like seriously, I love you so much. Like seriously, we talk about this every week. Yeah. And she goes, I need to do this with my career. And then I said, what's one thing that is going to make you do that? And she's like, I don't know. I said, here you go. You owe me $5,000 if you don't hit that goal. Can you commit to that? And she wrote it out on a napkin and sent me a picture of it. She committed to it. She made her goal. Nice. You know what I mean? She committed to that. Yeah. So it's not just a man thing at all, but that's something that we did way back in the day with our crew of guys. Yeah. And we called them our flock. So in Oola, we call it a flock. Yeah. 3 to 4 guys, love and support you. You can tell them anything. They're going to love you and support you, but also kick your butt if you're getting off track.
Right.
And when you're starting to like, this is what we want for our legacy and our family, this is God's purpose for my life, and you start drifting, they can say, dude, that's not, you know, you said you're going to be a great husband and you're out like partying, drinking, getting yourself, that's not a man. That's not what you said you want to do.
Right.
So you need someone to course correct you. And then I think the third component to that is, you know, the accountability piece, the accountability money, like make it count.
Make it hurt.
Because make it hurt.
Yeah.
And then the third thing is mentoring.
Yeah.
Like my grandma who would hold hands with my grandpa and walk down the gravel road,
yeah.
she was so big into moderation.
Yep.
That moderation, have a drink. You know, whatever. Like
Yep.
moderate. Have a little sugar.
Yeah.
Not so much. Have a soda once a week, right?
Or a donut.
Or a donut once a week. Troy needs to hear that. She was big into moderation, but the other thing that she was so big into is you are who you hang out with.
Yeah.
And that is so true.
Oh, yeah.
You are who you hang out with. If you start hanging around with dudes who aren't the man you want to be, pretty soon it's going to feel very normal to do what they do.
Yeah.
If you hang around with people you look up to, like Barracks, like you, like I talked about Tim and Troy and some of the other guys that I surround myself with, it's because I want to be like them.
Yep.
My brother-in-laws, I want to be like those guys. They're good guys.
Yep.
And that's who you surround yourself with. That's a big part of not only being a better man, just being a better human.
Yeah.
You know, on every level. Surround yourself with good people. You know, and if you want to reach back and help someone who's hurting, do that, but don't fall into that. But do that. That's a very manly thing. That's a very human thing. It's a very loving thing, is to reach back and help others that are off course and struggling.
That's why I like this guy. He's got dreams, he's got passion, he's got things he wants to do and things he wants to accomplish. It's not just existing, it's doing something with your life.
Yeah.
So thanks, brother.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much.
Good to see you.